What's up, everybody? Welcome in. I'm Brian. He's Jay, Southeastern 16. We are presented to you by FanDuel. This is our Miami at SMU preview as we're starting to preview some games that involve teams that could be future CFP opponents to SEC schools. But before we get going, let's tell you about our friends at GameTime SIDEKICKS, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, plus over 350 more universities. Everything from sippy cups, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, and 40-ounce plus bottles and shaker cups, SE16 for the 20% discount to viewers. What's happening, Jay?
Not much, my friend. What's up with you?
Oh, not a whole lot. So we've got Miami 6-1 straight up, 5-2 against the spread, but they are a minus 260. They have minus odds to make the CFP, whereas they are plus 230 to win the ACC championship game. Georgia Tech is plus 190 favorite to win the ACC championship game. SMU has both 30-1 odds for both the ACC championship game and to make the CFP. But if they win this game, having a 30-1 ticket on them might be a good thing because we've got 7 teams with 1 loss or fewer in the ACC standings. Ja Tech 5-0 at the top, UVA 4-0. That's not going to last, so fortunate to escape Chapel Hill last week. Pitt 4-1, Louisville and SMU and Duke 3-1, and Miami's only played 3 ACC games. They are 2-1. All right, some other numbers. SMU is 5-3 straight up, 2-6 ATS. At home, they are 3-1 straight up, 1-3 ATS. Miami's only played 1 road game. They win at FSU and cover, and it was a misleading final. They were killing them. FSU had a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make it look more respectable, but Cristobal has struggled on the road during his Miami tenure. 10-7 straight up, 8-9 against the spread, and as a road favorite, 6-6 ATS, but lost a couple outright as a road favorite last year at Georgia Tech and at Syracuse. And SMU at home, their last 19 at home, 17-2, straight up. Their losses by 3 to BYU last year and by 3 in overtime to Baylor back in week 2 in a game they led most of the way. But at home overall in Lashley's tenure, 19-4 straight up and 2-1 ATS with 1 outright win as a home dog. It's a noon Eastern game on ESPN, and FanDuel currently has Miami at 11.5, minus 114 price. Minus 106 to play the Mustangs plus 11.5. SMU plus 360 on the money line. 50.5 points is your total. And in the first quarter, the Canes are minus 1.5. In the first half, they are minus 6.5. All right. Initial thoughts on this matchup.
Well, after all that math alphabet soup you just rattled out at us, this line feels fat to me.
Really big, and it makes me think we're missing an injury, but I've looked and I know AI makes mistakes, but I've Twitter searched, I've Googled SMU injuries versus Miami, and I'm not really finding anything that would stand out like Jennings or anything, so I don't know.
Well, SMU is going to have to. You mentioned the 30-1 and 30-1 tickets. SMU now with 3 losses in a crowded landscape. If they want to get back to the playoff in what almost assuredly feels like Rhett Lashley's swan song with the Mustangs, they're going to be look. I know SMU's got some stacked wallets. I'm not saying they can't afford to match whatever anybody wants to, but Rhett Lashley's going to have some suitors, especially with the number of teams in this coaching carousel.
Yeah, and I think Arkansas leads the way there, but there could be plenty of other schools hollering at him as well. He's obviously from Springdale and has Razorback roots. And maybe that played a role in last week, losing 13-12 to Wake Forest. And I looked at that box score, and it didn't look like a 1-point game. Wake really dominated the stats. So, but that leaves them in bounce back mode here, and they are at home, and they were in a back-to-back road spot off a big win at Clemson, granted without Cade Klubnik playing. But prior to the win at Clemson, they had double digitized Syracuse and Stanford at home, and we mentioned their losses to Big 12 teams, Baylor and TCU. Earlier in the year, but man, it's the road thing with Cristobal. This team doesn't play good on the road, and they've only played once on the road this year.
Only played once on the road, and that's a completely unpredictable FSU team. Played like ass against Louisville, and that was at home with the nation watching on a Friday night. And I mean, look. Your stats back up your point about Cristobal. I don't know how much of a big game player Carson Beck is. And, yeah. I mean, look, just because you dated one of the Cavender girls does not make you ready for prime time, brother. And this is Miami. You sounded a little shocked when you rattled off Miami at minus 260 to make the playoff. What Miami has that few teams don't is as an at-large, especially in this league, is they have in their back pocket the tiebreaker over Notre Dame.
They do. They sure do.
So if they both finish at 10-2, then you got to go Miami over Notre Dame because they beat them. Right. And this is an interesting subplot this football season for the ACC and for the SEC. Miami is going to be better served to finish unless they win out. And that of course, is you'll be well served and they'll get in winning out. They'll be better served at 10-2 with a win over Notre Dame to get into the playoff by not making the ACC championship game. Because if they go to the ACC championship game, and the SEC's got a glut of teams like this. If you go to let's say a 10-2 Georgia goes and plays a 12-0 Texas A&M, or however it works out, there are a lot of potential 10-2 teams. There's going to be a glut of Power 5 10-2 teams. Then what do you do with a Power 5 runner-up who's 10-3? By comparison from that room. And no one in their right mind should trust that room to make good decisions.
No, hell no. So back to Miami's struggles here recently. So Beck threw 4 interceptions against Louisville. In the last 5 games, he has an 8-7 TD-INT ratio, very mediocre. So not only did they lose to Louisville, they were down 7-0 to Stanford pretty early in the first quarter, maybe mid-ish first quarter. They did not tie the game and make it. They didn't score for the first time against Stanford until there was a minute 15 left until halftime. And then they didn't take their first lead of the game until there was 9:34 left in the game. With that said, we're not being critical of Miami's defense. And by the way, they erupted in the second half and actually ended up covering a 30-point spread and won 42-7, but it was ugly early. Now, their defense is number 11 in total defense, number 9 in run D, number 8 in scoring D. They have up an average of only 14.1 points per game. But hey, if you want to snap out of a slump, Carson Beck, SMU is ranked number 136 out of 136 FBS teams in pass defense. So if Carson Beck doesn't have a big game here, he may be shot.
And look, man, you and I have, when we talk about SEC games, especially when we talk about Auburn SEC games, it's about feeding the beast that is Cam Coleman. I know he's a freshman, but Carson Beck needs to find Malachi Toney on every single drive because that guy is magical with the football in his hands.
Yeah, he is. He sure is. I will say SMU, their 5 wins this year, all by 11 points or more. All right, before I pay some bills. Any other thoughts before I pay bills and get it? And we'll get back to, then we'll go to predictions.
Well, I think, honestly, I think the ACC has played its way into probably almost assuredly getting 2 here. So I think if Miami wins on the road, it eliminates SMU from any conversation.
Oh, of course. Yeah, for sure.
And now Miami, if you're an SEC fan watching this and you're trying to figure out the way to get the path to getting the most teams in, Miami needs to chalk up a couple more losses and to play themselves out of it, because Miami could potentially be a 3rd team out of the ACC in this thing because of what we mentioned with Notre Dame.
Well, look, after this game, Miami should win their next 3, but they've got to play a cold weather game at Pittsburgh on November 29th. And if Claiborne is healthy for that, and I know he got dinged up again, Pittsburgh stud running back, or Desmond Reed. I'm sorry, I'm mixing him up with Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest. My apologies, Des. If Desmond Reed is healthy and back for that game, I would call right now Pitt to win that game outright. Pitt's playing good right now. In fact, they've won 4 in a row, and it should be 5. They blew that game with Louisville. They were winning big early. Who is Louisville's lost to? Why am I blanking on that? Louisville lost to Virginia when Virginia had 2 defensive scores and beat them 30-27. Okay, how about our good friends at Yearly Company, a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition and design for meaning. Each piece is handcrafted from solid 14K gold and natural gemstones, made to measure for a perfect fit and backed by a lifetime guarantee. Because every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That's where our sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT will take 100% off the sizing kit at checkout. Let's tell you about our friends at ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, RockLock secure mounting, SEC25 for 25% off. And finally, our friends at HOVI Dry Goods, your new favorite hat. Look no further than HOVI hats for high quality headwear with a great fit and unique designs. Bad beat in all caps for 15% off. Predictions. I'll let you take the honors.
Look, we're picking these in terms of playoff and conversation. So I think Miami finds a way to win the football game. But the only way to bet this game is to take the double digits with the home-standing Mustangs, in my opinion. I think Jennings, the SMU quarterback's ability to move around, will at least mitigate some of the pressure Miami has generated consistently off the edge with 2 first or second day NFL draft picks at defensive end. But I don't trust the totality. And you touched on a great stat, Brian. If Carson Beck doesn't throw for 3 bills and 3 tuttas, then they need to start looking around in that quarterback room, because this pass defense of SMU's is dreadful.
Yeah, stay ready, Emory Williams. Stay ready, young man, because, he should light it up. So, again, I'm very concerned that I'm not aware of an injury, because I made this line. Now, granted, I made these lines Friday afternoon before the weekend results, but I made Miami a 4-point favorite in this game. Now, SMU, you got to downgrade for losing 13-12 at Wake Forest, but you don't downgrade them 8 points. Some books have it higher than the 11.5 that FanDuel has. So, or at least they did a couple hours ago. I want to call for the outright upset, but again, we're recording, guys and gals, early Tuesday afternoon. The ACC injury report does not come out till Thursday, so keep that in mind if you're thinking of tailing me. But I'm going to call for SMU to win outright if they're healthy, in bounce back mode, because I don't trust Carson Beck, and I don't trust Cristobal. We got the head coaching advantage at SMU, and we got the quarterback advantage, and we got home field advantage. I'll call for the outright upset. For Jay Greeson, I'm Brian Edwards. Enjoy that game at noon Eastern Saturday on ESPN.